Welcome to ORCID, Get, Build, Connect. This class is brought to you by the Research Medical Library. Okay, so we're going to dive right in. We're going to get started. I'm going to let Travis start things off by talking about ORCID. So Travis, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon. So ORCID is it's a free, unique, persistent identifier for individuals to use as they engage in research, scholarship, and innovation activities. So that's how they define their service. It's also the name of the organization that kind of supplies these services. And what you're basically getting is a number assigned to you and then a profile page that's associated with that unique number. All of the ORCID services are free. Next slide. So why would you want a number like this? Um, let's load some images and see if you can identify who these people are. Who are they and what do they have in common? Put in the chat or you can unmute yourself if you recognize the people. It's okay. So both
Can I
of
play?
these, yeah, please, Aaron, please.
The, these,
Yeah,
yes, okay.
there we go.
It's
All
Michelle
right.
Williams, right?
Very good. Thank you, Valencia and Alicia. Yes, they're both Michelle Williams. That's exactly right. Okay. And let's do the next two. Yes, right. Michael Jordan, both Michael Jordan. And finally, the last two, a little more little sillier, but these are right. Funny Myers and Scary Myers, both Mike Myers, Michael Myers. Yes, very good. So uh, these people all share names that are the same or very close. And so in small ways, they've tried to maybe distinguish themselves, not so much with the Michelle Williamses, but if they were publishing and they were credited as authors on a paper, then it would be easy to confuse the two individuals and question who the authorship is attributed to. Next slide. So this the need for this is called author name disambiguation, and this comes up even when people are within the same field. So there was, for a few years, there was a kind of an annual list where these scholars would compile the chemists, so all the same field, the living chemists with the highest H index. So H index is a metric that we're actually going to be talking about in the other class that Erwin mentioned, but H index is a way to measure the productivity and influence of an individual author. And so this list, they had to stop producing it um, because the person that was consistently getting the top space had this K Tanaka name, and it required a lot of additional research to establish that this was probably more than one person just within chemistry. Um, so this is a real example of something where there was a lot of confusion. So a unique identifier like ORCID, which is voluntary. Well, Aaron's going to talk a little bit more about that, but it's voluntary. It's free to acquire. It helps distinguish or disambiguate authors from one another. And some names are very common, and you can almost be assured that there is somebody else publishing with a similar name. But even if you'd feel like the name that you're working with isn't very common, sometimes the journal, when they publish, they won't list the full name. It'll be the last name and the first initial. And so it doesn't have to be the entire name that is the same as somebody else's to necessitate getting an ORCID number. If you are just using the last name and the first initial, it's likely that somebody else is going to publish and possibly even in the same field. So next slide. And
Okay.
Erwin's going to talk about this.
Yes. So even if you're not convinced on author name disambiguation, you may be required to obtain and use an ORCID. So we've been talking a lot, many of you have probably been in some of our other classes. We've been talking a lot about some of the new NIH changes for 2025. And one of those changes is related to ORCID. And I have that screenshot directly here. I've shared this webpage with you guys before. This is the announcement about the changes. And one of those changes is that all senior and key personnel listed on an application for a due date on or after May 25, 2025 must have an ORCID ID, and their ID must be linked to their ERA Commons personal profile. And um, even if someone is not a senior key personnel, if they have to use the NIH common forms, the new common forms that are coming also on that May date, there is a section, there will be a section in the common form. It's called the persistent identifier section, and an ORCID will be required for entry in that section. So if you are someone who, or you are someone who supports someone who is involved at all in funding and having to complete any of these forms, then you're going to have an ORCID. I also will mention this too. I was thinking about this as Travis was talking about the name disambiguation. Many of you probably know that it can be hard to isolate an author, especially depending on what their name is in PubMed. And if your author, if you are the author or you're someone who supports the author has an ORCID, that could make them much easier to isolate and identify in PubMed. You don't then have to disambiguate them based on the name, right? Because the ORCID is a unique identifier, and PubMed will allow you to search by the ORCID ID. It's just an extra thing wanted to throw in there. So we'll talk quickly about how to get an ORCID, but I want to hear from you. So if you guys will let me know, we sent out an email yesterday afternoon about getting an ORCID. How many of you were able to get an ORCID if you did not already have one? So we also sent you in the email a link to how do I register for an ORCID. And so here's that page, and it takes you step by step. It's pretty straightforward, right? You're going to enter some data in the fields, and it's going to push you forward. You're going to have a username. Please make sure you use your MD Anderson email address. You're going to create a password, and enter some employment information, and you're pretty much done. But step-by-step instructions are here at this link. This link is in the email. So let's pop back into the slides because I think everybody's good to go on how to get an ORCID. So let's talk then about adding a trusted individual, because we know that many of you are someone who is going to act as a delegate on your faculty members' ORCID record. So we have instructions here, and I have some screenshots for you here on adding a trusted individual, so you can refer back to this, but I'm going to take you into my ORCID record and show you how you can do this. So let's go back into the browser, and I'm going to go to my ORCID profile. Let me just confirm. Excuse me. Okay. So this is my ORCID profile. You should see something that looks very similar to this. In the top right, I'm going to click on my username. You can see there's a little down arrow here. I'm going to click there to get that menu, and I'm going to go into the trusted parties section. So I'm going to click there, and you can see I have several trusted organizations listed here. Travis is going to go over that next. But if you scroll down, you're going to get to this trusted individuals section. And I don't have any individuals added yet, but I can add people. And I do that by searching for them here. Now, remember, I mentioned this in the email. Anyone that you want to add as a delegate has to also have an ORCID. They don't have to have a complete profile or a complete record. So if you're a faculty member and you need to add your administrative assistant as a delegate, that admin has to have an ORCID, but they don't have to add anything right to it. They're not going to have publications and all that jazz, then that's fine. So you're going to search for them by their ORCID ID. It's going to be a 16-digit number. You can search by email address or you can search by name. Name is probably the easiest way to search. So let me search for Travis. Okay, it's going to give me some options, possible matches, right? I know Travis, so I know he's Travis Ford holder. I can, if I want to confirm that this is the right Travis Ford holder in case there are multiple Travis Ford holders out there, I can click into his ORCID record and that will show me more information about him so that I can use that information to confirm that's who I'm looking for. Once I confirm that's the person I want to add as a delegate or a trusted individual, I'm going to come over here to the right and click on Add as Trusted Individual. It's going to ask me to confirm that. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. And it should happen. I think Travis and I determined that it happens like instantaneously, right? Travis is going to receive an email from ORCID, but he doesn't have to take any action on that email. It's just a notification letting him know that he's been added. But you can see now under my Trusted Individual section, there's Travis. So Travis has access to my ORCID record. Let me make sure I can pop out. Okay. I don't hear anything. I don't see anything in the chat.
There's
So,
nothing in the chat.
okay, good. So, oops, this is for Travis. So I'm going to stop sharing actually, and I'm going to let Travis share.
Do you see my ORCID screen? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to add citations to a profile. This is the kind of the main reason why people have ORCID, well, ORCID, the profile page. Erwin talked about why the number itself is important, but if you want to have information listed on the page, then there are definitely are quicker ways to do it. So this is my page, my profile page, and this is the public view. So you can see if somebody else has my link, then they go to this page. This is what it will look like. But if you're signed in, then you can go and then view my ORCID record. And when you see that, it looks very similar, but some additional options. So for example, you can have your employment history here and add, and all these different sections, they have an add button here. And when we go down farther, there's professional organizations and then works. So notice it doesn't only say publications, it says works. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. And everything that I'm about to describe is also, we have slides for with screenshots that you're going to receive after the presentation. But we wanted to do this live. So if you are following along, you can see where the buttons are and see kind of the sequence of how this gets done. So you can see I have 16 works here on my profile. So the first way, as I just remember 16, you don't have to remember the names or anything like that, but 16 works. And if I go over here to add, then there are several options. And the first one is called search and link. And when I click that, it gives you a lot more options. So these are all the different places that it's possible to retrieve data from to add to your ORCID profile. And when you scroll down, the one that we want to choose is this one, Scopus-Elsevier. And let me see if I can zoom. Yeah, it's kind of small, but if you click on Scopus, then so Scopus is a multidisciplinary database. You actually have access to it through the Research Medical Library, and it's a good database, and it actually has a lot of different material in it. So it's a great source to draw from to populate your ORCID profile. If you click on it, then it'll give you some options. So in my case, it's only listing one name here because I've been using ORCID for a little bit, but sometimes especially if not a lot of work has been done in Scopus, then you might see more than one name here. So what you would do, whether you see one name or multiple names, you would pick the name that is the profile that you're trying to update. And then you can see up here, there's this kind of wizard process bar. You have this clicked and it's going to tell you how far along in the process you are. So I have the box checked and I'll click next. So there's a couple of steps to kind of clarify that we're talking about the right person. So here, you can select one of these different ways. Sometimes when somebody is published, it include the middle initial. It won't have any initials. It'll only be the initials. So in this case, it's asking, which one of these I want to pick. I'm going to just pick the first option and click next. And then here is a list of publications. And so when I have a list of publications, I can go through and see whether I remember. These are listed in chronological order with the most recent at the top, so descending order. And so we can look at these and see are do these look familiar? Is this actually the Travis that we are trying to update the profile of? And if you have some idea of yours or the person that you're delegated to update their profile, that might be helpful. For example, if you know that they publish in a specific field, if some of them look like they aren't part of that field, that might be one that you want to double check. If it turns out that that's not one that you think is part of your author's profile, or it shouldn't be part of your author's profile, you can click on View in Scopus to check. And you can see, you can look for what the affiliation is. Since we have access to Scopus at the Research Medical Library, this option is open to you. And it's good to be able to verify it with that additional step. If you don't want to include that on your profile, you can click X and it will remove it from the list. If you like all of them, then you can leave them where it is. You can click here. It's already going to include it if if the green check is present. So if I didn't want to include one, I'll do this. Then it removes it there. But if I want to include it, then the green check, it'll be illuminated. It won't be grayed out. So if I want to include everything that I see here, then I click next. And it's again asking to verify things. So this is the same list of articles. It's maybe displayed slightly differently, but you can see the journal names a little clearer. The authors are still not super easy to read, but because it's kind of bunched up. But you can see, for example, this one, number 7, you can't even see where my name is present. So that would be one, where you'd maybe want to look a little bit closer where the authors are listed. But if you want to include all of these, then you click next. And this is one where you can send the author ID. So you can put an email address in. So we recommend, like Erwin said before, when you're registering, having your MD Anderson email, institutional profile associated with it. If you don't, oh, okay, and send author ID. So now, if we send the publication list, it'll say that it's been submitted from Scopus to ORCID. Then we can return to ORCID, and we had 16 documents on my works section before, and now when we go, we have 17. So the newest article here, this was added, and it says what the source of the citation was. You can see source, it's my name, and then via Scopus-Elsevier. So this is the quickest way and really the recommended way to add citations to an author's ORCID profile because you can do a lot of them at once. If you are working on a profile that has a lot of, they're very prolific, they have a lot of citations, then this is the quickest way to add a lot of those. One thing to be aware of is that even though Scopus is a very, very robust database and it has it has quite a few things, it doesn't have everything. Um, so it does have some conference material, for example, but there could be a journal that isn't included in Scopus, or another thing that happens is that sometimes a one database will have a record for an article before another database. So in this case, PubMed has we're going to see what it's like to add with PubMed. Let's say that PubMed has a record for an article that Scopus hasn't added yet. So if I click on add, then we also have the option to add PMID. So every article that's included in PubMed has a unique number assigned to it. And so if I go to a PubMed record for the article, then I can come down here and the PMID is listed under the author affiliations. I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to insert. So just to refresh, I'll do add and PMID. And if I put the PMID in, then I can retrieve the details from PubMed. So you can see it already has, it's already specified what type of work this is. It's got the title, the journal name, and some other information. Like there's the abstract, and some other identifiers like a DOI. So there's co-authors, a lot of the information around the article record. And so I can add this to the ORCID. So this, or let me refresh. Oh, no, here it is. So now we have 18. So we started with 16. We were able to add one through Scopus, and then we were able to add another one through the PMID. Now, for each of these records, right now the way it looks is, they're very small. But if you just click on Show More Detail, you can see, some of that other information. And sometimes it will link out. Yeah, so you have here URL is Scopus, and it's again telling you what the source was. In this case, it doesn't say PMID. But if you scroll, you can see, there's the abstract that we saw before, and it does link out to a different URL, and you have the PMID and DOI and stuff here. I want to scroll down a little bit because you might be worried if you do the same article using more than one source, will it add it multiple times? And so the good news is that no, you can add it through multiple sources and through different identifiers. It will recognize that these are all different sources for the same citation. So if you click Show More Detail, you can see this has the abstract, it's got the contributors, it's got the links, and it comes from multiple sources. So that's a good thing to not have to worry about, where maybe you have the same citation listed multiple times because you did Scopus and then you also did PMID separately. So eventually, this other one that we just added with the PMID, that will also appear in Scopus, and that will be added, and I'll have a little bit more information in the Show More Detail. The last thing I wanted to mention about adding things is here under Add, there is another option, Add Manually. And so up until this point, we've been talking about adding articles specifically that have been published in a scholarly journal, and that would appear in a database like Scopus or PubMed. But since this says works and not only articles, you can actually add other types of projects here. So if you scroll down, you can see, for example, well, there's preprint, and that's something you have to decide if you want to include that on your profile. So this, in this case, this preprint was kind of the forerunner to this article that was eventually published.
Hey,
Um,
Travis,
uh-huh.
can I stop you for a second? Because I think you're talking exactly about what, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So,
Okay, yeah, let's look.
um, they have a bioarchive, a paper, and so you can see the question in the chat. And
Yes.
my initial reaction is like, well, no, you would always want to take the published paper and you could remove the preprint, right? But but in this case, different title,
It's
right?
a great question. And
And so would you keep the preprint or
so I
not?
that's a good question. I'm glad this came up because I think that, for me personally, I'm probably going to remove the preprint because the full text article has been published,
Right,
in a scholarly journal. Um, it was recent. It was something that I hadn't updated. And so, but I also like this as an illustration since it's, you can see, that you can identify the type of work here.
right.
And so I think in terms of, um, maintaining the profile, it probably makes sense to remove it. And it looks like we have some support for that in the chat. Um, the So preprints are one thing that you can add, especially maybe if the profile, I mean, if the kind of the peer-reviewed version hasn't been published yet. But it's not the only other type of work that you can include. And if you go down here to add manually, then you can see there's work type, and they have three popular work types. And I would say conference paper, you know, um, things like, and when you mouse over these others, you can see um, different options out to the right. So, for example, conference poster, conference presentation, those are definitely things that, and book chapter, I would also say is a pretty common one. Um, so these are the kinds of things that aren't necessarily going to automatically come out of um, Scopus, and especially not PubMed. PubMed doesn't really have conference material. So this is the kind of stuff that if you want to display it, then you want to identify what it is, and this is the way that you're going to have to do it. Um, Same as with the PMID, unfortunately, you can't do multiple of these at a time. So if I wanted to do conference presentation, then I would, have to enter the work title myself. So, you know, isn't that the quote? But anyway, I don't but you add it yourself, and then you keep populating all of these, manually. You have to type it in. And so this is the only um way that you can have this added to the profile. So you'd want to set, whatever the type is, and that's gonna the type that you pick also is going to determine some of the fields that you have down here. For example, it won't say journal, when you add moving image or video or something like that, because it's not that type of work. Um, uh, but this is another option that you have to add manually, and you can also add other contributors too. And it's a little, so if I wanted to add somebody else to this, I can continue to add names, and and then what is their role in the project. So if we and then, other information. Oh, this is another thing too, visibility. So visibility, not only in the works section, but throughout the profile, you have the option of saying who can see this. And so the default is for everybody to see it, anybody that has access to your profile. But you can make it to where certain things only are visible to trusted parties or even only to you. Um, and that's one thing that sometimes we see a little bit of is if somebody sets up their profile just because of a requirement to get the ORCID number, they don't necessarily make their profile visible. And you can see once something is added to your profile, it's very easy to change the visibility of it. So, maybe this sort of strikes the balance where I can make this visible only to me, the preprint, and then now everybody sees the full text or the peer-reviewed version. And then I still have a link if I wanted to go check this quickly from the profile once I'm logged in. Um, you can also edit, once something is on here too. But I would say the Scopus search and link feature is definitely the quickest way to add a large number of citations to a profile at one time. Um, so,
And
uh,
Travis,
oh, uh
so if I use Scopus as my source
mhm.
to search and link, moving forward, anytime I published a paper that was indexed in Scopus, it would automatically be added to my ORCID record once I've established this connection. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So yes, you can add it. Well,
Or is that a separate
that's
thing?
that's a little
Like
bit
we
of
have
a
to
separate
add them
thing.
as a
Yeah, you have
separate.
to add the as
Okay.
a separate thing, but it is possible to do. And maybe
So that we automate the process for us,
yeah,
right?
you can automate it. And I know, for people that haven't set up the profile at all yet, this is going to get you as close as up to speed as you can in one step, and then automating the process. As you can see, it's not difficult to do this, but you can automate it some. Also, going both ways, updating in Scopus and then updating in ORCID. And we'll message a little. We'll put that a little bit in the what we send out after the class. Um, let me think. So as far as adding citations and adding other types of works, those are um, those are some of the other ways to do it. There there are other sources that you can search and link from. Um, they're a little more complicated. For example, um, Crossref is one that you can do, but the interface is a little bit um, difficult to navigate. It doesn't give you as
It's
much
not
as
search
Scopus.
friendly.
Yeah, it's not search friendly. Thank you, everyone. So I would definitely start with Scopus just because of how much it has in it. But some of these other things, they might be useful, but um, I think Scopus is the best place to start. And I haven't looked in the chat. Are there any questions about that process?
Think there's nothing right now. But now can you go to your accounts, your trusted parties
Mhm.
section?
So if I go up here, trusted parties. Oh,
So
yes.
once you choose to pull data from an external source, that does that data automatically become a trusted organization?
Yes, this is a
Or
great question. So these kind of become trusted through a couple of different means. Some of this we've done within the profile here. So you can see Scopus-Elsevier is one that we've been working with in this session. But some of these they became trusted whenever a manuscript was submitted to this journal, and they want to link my author name to my ORCID ID, and so during the manuscript submission process, it became trusted. Like I was basically signed into my ORCID, and then it asked, do I, like in this case, PLOS, asked if it was okay to draw from my ORCID account to be trusted to say that I am who I said I was. The same with editorial manager and some of these other sites that were for manuscript submission. So yes, in that case, it was automatically becoming trusted because I gave it permission in that process. And some of these, the Web of Science researcher profile, that's a different, Web of Science is a different database that has kind of a um, similar function as Scopus. It can also use ORCID information to update your profile in that database. Um, so it's, you unfortunately you can't do it from logging into ORCID, but if you are signed in on the Web of Science side, updating a profile, then you can have them talk to each other. So that kind of automates the process for a different profile.
Okay. But the first time that you do this, the first time that you choose Elsevier, the first Scopus, the first time you choose Scopus, or the first time that you choose Crossref, let's say, for
Mhm.
adding works, does it
Yes,
automatically become a trusted
it
party?
does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
Um,
Can I link this? There's a question in the chat. Can I link this to your NIH bibliography? I think that you're talking about my bibliography, which is an NCBI tool. And yes, you can link your ORCID ID to your um, my bibliography, to your NCBI account. So then it would be linked to all your NCBI tools, which would include my bibliography and ScienceEV. And I do have a slide about linking your ORCID to my NCBI.
Um, one, yes, one thing that's a little bit less formal, you also have the ability to link out from your profile too. So other scholarly profiles, you can just add links to them. But for what Erwin is talking about, it's actually it becomes, the number is linked to the NIH bibliography, and it's good information that she has on the slide. Oh, another question too that we thought might be the case, it might come up is questions about so at MD Anderson there's Pure, the profile system Pure for scholarly publications, and that's another reason why we recommend using Scopus to do the search and link feature is because Scopus Pure data is from the Scopus database. So and because we have a lot of work done with Pure, um, you know, we're drawing from Scopus, and already some of that data is being curated before it gets to your ORCID profile. So that's why it's another good source to use.